What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back inside the UC Health Training Center for another edition of Broncos Now. Team reporter and host Sydney Jones here. And coming up on today's episode, we'll hear from head coach Nathaniel Hackett and all three coordinators as they spoke with the media today. Plus, San Francisco 49ers team reporter Lindsey Pallares joins the show to discuss this matchup from the 49ers perspective. All that and more coming up. Broncos had another day of practice here at the UC Health Training Center as their Sunday night matchup versus the San Francisco 49ers is now just 3 days away. Defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero talked about his experience playing up against Jimmy Garoppolo in this Niners offense over the years and how he's going to use that to his advantage this week.
Definitely helpful. I think over the last 5 years we played them 11 times, so we got pretty familiar with what they're doing and stuff. But they do such a good job schematically. They're always going to be a challenge, and they always have nice new wrinkles for them, and so we got to be ready.
Head coach Nathaniel Hackett also discussed this San Fran offense and how explosive they are in the run game.
First and foremost, they're unbelievably well coached, and they know how to run off the ball and be able to be aggressive down the field at the same time with their run blocking. So they're trying to get across the line of scrimmage, both in their inside zone and their outside zone. And then you add in all the different groupings, formations, shifts, motions, Debo's in the backfield, all kinds of different people are in the backfield. So I think they cause that consternation, like we like to say. Along with that, they execute at a high level and are very well coached.
Both defensive tackle DJ Jones and cornerback K'Wan Williams will be facing their former team this Sunday. We heard from outside linebacker Bradley Chubb yesterday, and he talked about how he's been using DJ as a resource this week. And Coach Evero agrees that both DJ and K'Wan have been really helpful as they've been preparing.
Yeah, they've been awesome. They obviously they've practiced against these guys for a long time and been in the building and all that stuff. And I think not only the schematic stuff, but also the mentality that's needed to play in this type of game against the physicality, running to the ball, all those type of things. They understand what it takes to stop this offense.
The Broncos haven't scored a ton of points in their first 2 games this season, but the offense has been quite efficient. They rank top 10 in total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. Both Coach Hackett and offensive coordinator Justin Outten spoke on that efficiency today.
I kind of look at the offense as a whole, and it's been very efficient. The guys have executed at a high level. When things haven't been great, they've been able to make plays, which is great to see. In the end, for us, it's about finishing. And when it comes to the offense, again, I love how they're running off the ball. I love how they're executing the run game. They're completing the ball down the field. We're utilizing the play pass. We're utilizing the keepers. All those things have been very good to sustain those drives. And now it's just about finishing.
It's really fun to see that stuff come alive in those situations in the in midfield, and just we got to build off of that. We got to be better in those situations that we all know, and it's very encouraging to see those guys. The hard work that they paid off, it's paying off. All the work they did in the offseason as far as the study and the technique that we're asking them to do, they really bought into it. It's coming alive, and I'm excited where it's going to go.
However, Denver is currently the most penalized team in the league. Coach Outten discussed how they're addressing some of these false start issues, and special teams coordinator Dwayne Stukes touched on the delay of game penalties on field goals that we saw versus the Texans.
Throughout the week of practice, more cadence variation, just working that throughout the week, not only in practice but in walkthroughs, just getting them used to it and hearing it, and just understanding your assignment is awesome. You got to know it, you got to execute it, but it comes down to the cadence first. So you got to really remind yourself, remind your buddy. Just make sure you're on the same page.
Just, communication as far as what we're going to do, but we got to be more urgent when we get on the field to get in the huddle, break the huddle, and get to the line of scrimmage. Regardless of the time on the clock, we just need to speed that operation up a little bit. That's myself. I'll do a better job coaching that, as well as the players in the huddle checking out the play clock.
Now let's welcome San Francisco 49ers team reporter Lindsey Pallares onto the show to take a look at this week's matchup from the 49ers perspective. Lindsay, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Sydney.
Of course. How are things over there in San Francisco?
It's been an eventful couple weeks. I think just a lot of weather elements in our games, and then also a ton of personnel changes, but the team is working through it, and we're so excited to be headed to Denver for a Sunday night football game.
Yeah, should be a fun one here in Denver. All eyes on us in prime time.
one of the 2022 season for us. So it's exciting for sure.
Lindsay, both the Broncos and the 49ers are coming off wins at home. Before we get into the nitty gritty of this matchup, I want to ask, how's Trey Lance doing? It was so awful to see what happened to him on Sunday.
Yeah, of course. It was a really unfortunate injury. Of course, our starting quarterback, happy to report that he has had successful surgery. Head coach Kyle Shanahan did rule him out for the remainder of the 2022 season. I know there was a lot of speculation as to a possible comeback. If there was a playoff run, that's kind of been taken off the table at this point. But it's been great to just see the support of the team. He's had a bunch of teammates visiting him in the hospital, bringing him lunch, and just a lot of words of encouragement for Lance throughout the organization. So, it's going to be a tough road to recovery, but everybody's very confident that he's going to come back better and stronger for 2023.
Well, that's all great news. Great to hear. Lindsay, let's talk a little bit about Jimmy Garoppolo. He stepped up on Sunday in Trey Lance's place and really picked up right where he left off, didn't skip a beat. What did you like about his performance on Sunday that you want to see him continue to build upon this weekend?
I think the thing with backup quarterbacks is when you see one enter a game, you typically don't see the type of familiarity that the team has with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that's probably the biggest strength he has working for him. He has been here for 5 seasons. His pass catchers know who he is, his style of play. And there is that natural chemistry that does exist. And I think for him, kind of like what head coach Kyle Shanahan said, it's just about getting the reps, learning the new plays, especially because he was in a throwing program for most of training camp in the preseason. So the familiarity is really great. And just to see him get reintegrated back into the offense has been really good. And I think that's just something that you continue to build upon.
Well, sticking with the offense here, what's the latest on George Kittle? I mean, Denver's defense is really going to have their hands full with Deebo Samuel, and it's only going to be tougher if George Kittle's out there.
So nothing definitive on George Kittle just yet. What I can say is that he has been a limited participant in the past 2 practices. I was out there yesterday and was able to see him running through at least individual drills. And I did see him catch some passes from Jimmy Garoppolo. So appears to be trending in the right direction. Again, we don't have an answer as to whether or not he will go on Sunday, but things are looking good. So I can't say that.
Well, good to know. Lindsay, I got to ask, what's going on in the running backs room over there? I saw Elijah Mitchell. He's going to be out for at least 8 weeks. And then Davis Price, he has an ankle injury as well.
The injury bug has really hit the running backs room really hard. And it's been something also that the team is working through. But yesterday, the team activated Marlon Mack, who is a former 1,000-yard rusher for the Colts. So he was previously on the practice squad. So we are getting some reinforcements there. And then again, I think we saw a really encouraging performance by Jeff Wilson Jr. against the Seahawks. Was the leading rusher of that game, 84 yards on the ground. And he's somebody that has been reliable for the team. Just an unfortunate injury last season for him. He tore his meniscus and was kind of working through that, was only available for 8 games. But I think for him, again, it's a steady ramp up. And I think on top of the help that we'll get on the ground from Deebo Samuel, you can definitely look to Jeff Wilson Jr. to really up the yards in this coming game.
Well, Lindsay, as you know, Russell Wilson is no stranger to this 49ers team, specifically this 49ers defense. I mean, he praised them during his press conference this week, said that their championship pedigree, so what threat does this 49ers defense pose for a Broncos offense that's, still tweaking some things?
As I will say, this front 7, arguably one of the best in the league. Top to bottom talent is just so amazing, especially in that front 7. So I think Russell Wilson is definitely going to have the pressure on him on Sunday. But he also has had a lot of success against San Francisco's teams. I think he's 17-4 when starting. And so that's something that they have their work cut out for them. But I think that's definitely one of the matchups that's going to be exciting to see play out. I think, you don't want to let Russell Wilson cook for too long because he will make a play. But I think, again, just going to be really, really exciting. I mean, from Nick Bosa to Fred Warner to Azeez Al-Shire to Dre Greenlaw, who just got a contract extension. There's so much excitement in that front seven. So I can't wait to see that play out on the field.
Lindsay, the 49ers lost on the road to open up their season. Do you think there's any concern coming here to Empower Field at Mile High with, the altitude and just how loud some of our fans are?
I think the altitude always plays a factor, whether you want it to be or not, because the air is thin up there. But I would say that Chicago was a little bit of a fluke just because of, it was monsoon weather. I was out there, torrential downpour. And even the last game, crazy weather. We saw sunlight. We saw heavy rain. We saw strong winds. I think they've been battling the elements these past 2 weeks. I looked at the forecast. Looks like it's just going to be sunny and nice in Denver. So I am hoping that we get our first fair weather game. So I'm crossing my fingers for that for sure.
Well, looking forward to the game. Lindsay, appreciate your time and your insight today. And I will see you here in Denver on Sunday.
All right. See you Sunday.
We caught up with DJ Jones in the locker room before practice today. And as he prepares to face his former team, he said he's taking all of the emotions out of it. He's acting like it's just another game. He went on to discuss how he's helping some of his teammates prepare for this matchup and how Denver's defense has looked so far this season.
Some details. We're dealing with a hell of a coach. He's a genius mind, so he's all about his details and just help the guys out a little bit. I think everybody's up front just being physical. Linebackers are feeling. We're not allowing it to get to the second, third level. So I think everybody up front, our front seven, is doing a great job.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in today and every day. I hope you'll meet me right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow evening for a game preview. I'll see you all then.